do is to fetch our data. So we currently have it data structure set up so we can receive it. So I'm going to go to my table view controller, and we're going to create a new function called get data. Okay, and inside this function, we're going to create a guard. So what we could do is we could define this URL, and then we need the string, and the string will come from our URL. So I've just set up a GitHub file, which we're going to pull. So it's just some static data at the moment, but we could use this to pull live data from an API if we needed to. So I've got my URL. So we could set this up like this, but the issue is if it doesn't get this, then it's going to return blank and will cause an error. So what we do, as you learnt before when we're dealing with guards, is we can create a guard, and if it doesn't find the URL, then we can have it just return. Okay. Oops, sorry. Next, we're going to set up our task. Again, you learned about this when we were learning the content on setting up sessions for network tasks. We can use our URL there, which we just defined. Now we want it to return either the data, some sort of response, or an error. And again, we're going to use a guard again, because if our data doesn't return anything, then we don't want our app to crash. We just don't want to have any data. Okay, from here, we're going to use our cities. So remember, our cities was set up inside our data structure. So we're using this here. And we're going to use this new JSON decoder. This came out with Swift 4, and it makes it a hell of a lot easier for you to link your JSON data set to your data structure. Okay, just to check, we're going to just print off our cities.count, just make sure that we've got everything. And we need to catch. Now here we could print off an error, but we're just going to set this up so that it does something. So they'll print off whatever the data type is, it will just print that out. And the last thing that you need to do, this is very important, is to make sure that we do task resume. Otherwise, that whole thing's not going to do anything. Okay, so that's our get data method. Of course, we have defined it, but we also need to call our method, and that will allow it to actually run. Okay, so from now we're pulling our data. When we run it, it will print out into our console, but at the moment it's not applying it to our tables. That's our next step.